All right. We are back with the Christmas edition of 100 Apps, 100 Hours. Today we are going to be building AI letters from Santa. I've got my lumberjack style on today. My wife called this lumberjack Jesus earlier, but I digress. We're back for more. The rules of 100 Apps, 100 Hours. If this is your first show, we have 60 minutes to plan and build an application, a website, a portal, whatever we're building. 60 minutes, no more, no less. And rule number 2, the anti-rule, use whatever you have at your disposal. And since this is an AI Christmas special, I'm going to pull out all the stops. So let's dive right in. We're going to hit the clock here, fire it up. 60 minutes on the timer, go. All right, so AI letters from Santa. What do we actually want out of this? So I have to admit, I cheated a little bit because I thought about this with my team and I knew we wanted to do this. I've seen things in the past where you write a letter to Santa, you get something back in the mail, etc., etc. With AI, we could take this up a notch. So combining two ideas. A while back, I saw a GitHub roast page where you enter in your GitHub profile, and it basically will scrape that and give you a roast of how well you're actually not doing in GitHub. So we're going to combine that with a letter from Santa, and basically what we want to do is enter a GitHub profile. We're going to scrape that profile. We're going to send that to AI. So we want LLM analysis of the profile. I'm not sure what we're going to call that. And then I'm going to bucket people on the open source naughty or nice list. So score naughty or nice list. And then we're going to generate a letter from open source Santa. Generate a letter from open source Santa to that GitHub profile. To that profile. All right, so as far as that functionality, this looks pretty good, right? What are the tools that we're going to use of the trade today? I've got a Directus Docker container up and running locally. Directus is obviously the backend we're using to store all of these things, and if everything works as intended, reggy, pm g. I guess sometimes things don't work as you intend. I've got a Nuxt application that we are going to try and use here. I'm not sure what's going on. But let's hop into the Directus instance. So I'm just going to pull up Chrome. We'll log in to 8055, and I should be able to pull up my backend. So great. Got Directus running. You can see this is a pretty blank instance of Directus. It's just the boilerplate I use now. There are a couple of extensions installed that I was testing, just messing around with, but let's make sure. What are we doing here? PMI. Sometimes these things never go as planned. Okay, so maybe now we can get this Nuxt application up and running. That will be served at localhost 3000, and we'll just basically use it to scaffold out our communications. As far as what I'm using, I've upgraded this boilerplate that I've used for 100 apps to the Nuxt UI v3 alpha, just to play around with Tailwind 4 and some of these nice new components that are coming from like Radix View. So all right, let's actually model this thing out, right? What do we need as far as our data models? I think we just need like maybe like a profiles. So Under profiles, we would have what, our username, letter from Santa, list, you know, are you naughty or nice? Great. And what else do we need? Let's jam on that. So we'll just set up the backend for this. I'm just going to create a new collection. We're going to call this profiles is the name of it. And why can't I zoom way in? There we go. That's maybe too far, but all good. Let's do created at, updated at. Okay, status, sort, not needed. Who this was created by, I'm not super concerned with. So now we have a profile. We're going to do the username. Great, that's where we'll store the GitHub profile. What else do we need? What else did we have here? We've got the letter from Santa. What is that going to be in? Letter from, let's just call it letter. Great, we'll use the WYSIWYG editor inside Directus, so we could just store, I'm assuming, HTML content for that. And then we've got the list. So that's basically going to be a string. We can, you know, make this look nice inside the Directus admin. We'll just give it a naughty. Feel naughty just typing that out. And then we have the nice list. Great. There we go. And I'm just going to go on record that we're probably, as soon as we start typing naughty into the AI stuff, we'll probably get some things back. I'd probably set off the content alarms or something like that. So there we go. We've got a username, we've got a letter, we've got a list. You know, I could potentially put that in here. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to, we're just using Directus to store this at the moment, right? There's a lot of different ways I could go with how to actually generate the application here. Directus allows me to create custom extensions. What I'm going to do here is just start working on this from the Nux side of it. So we're going to input the actual form here. Let's add a profile. What are we going to call this? Let's just call this letters.view. We'll get a view component set up. Lang equals TS. Great. I need to work on my little macros here. Okay. All right. The other thing that you'll notice here is that I am using cursor. So cursor, I recently started testing this thing out. Really enjoying the actual auto completions for this thing. So I don't have it usually generate like a giant list of code, but the automations or the auto completions are pretty nice for this thing. So let's start with step one would be enter GitHub profile info, GitHub username. All right, so the only thing here, sometimes it gets a little wonky with the, okay. So we'll use the uform from Nuxt UI. Good question, Bryant. The new one, the alpha, they changed some of the conventions. So I've got a form with a schema. I've got a form field instead of a form group. And then I've got an input. Okay. So we've got the form, uform field, and input, GitHub username. Let's just see what that gets us on the front end. We're going to go to this page, which is letters. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and just center this up. I think there's actually a container component we can use. Great. Cool. Okay, so now we have a GitHub username, and let's add a submit button. Button, click handle submit, and boom, we have a GitHub username, blah, blah, blah. Hit submit. Supposedly does something. What it's going to do right now, absolutely nothing. All right, so the next thing that we want to do, let's kick this thing off. We want to have the form state. We use reactive for that. Great. GitHub username. Okay. And then we're going to write a function to handle submit. Thank you. Yeah, great. We'll just console log that, right? Boom. There we go. We can see the GitHub username. Yada, yada, yada. All right. This is actually going to be an async function. Great. Okay. So now what do we want to do with this, right? We have to think about our application structure. And what I'm going to do here is just basically add a Nuxt server route. So if we break this down, in this server route, what we're going to do, call the GitHub API. Call GitHub API. We're going to want to grab a couple pieces of information like the user profile, any other repos, and maybe like their public README. I guess we could loop through the actual repos and pick up more information there, but let's see what we can get done with that piece. All right, so let's just go here. We're going to set up a new route. Let's call it roast route. We'll do post, and just going to copy the event handler here. Okay, so now whenever we hit this route with a post, it should return hello world. We can just check and see if that's actually going to work. So we will do the, I'm trying to think if that's going to return. Nope. So we got the response. We're going to do await. We can use the regular fetch or the $ fetch, which is the Nuxt specific version, and just test this out, see what we get back in the console. Where are you? Okay. Yeah, so we can see the request going out. We can see hello world coming back. Great. Cool. All right, so now what we're going to do, right? Let's just scaffold this out. We are going to pick up the body. Await a read body. Great. So that is going to have the GitHub username in there. And how did we spell that? Yeah, great. All right, so we're going to say GitHub username. And then we've got like this git roast function. I'm not really sure where some of these auto completions are coming from. But what we're going to do next, let's call, yep, there we go. That's a good one. API users, GitHub username. Is that the correct one? Let's just test that. All the developers on my team are screaming and crying at the moment, watching all these AI auto completions. So that seems fair. Great. And let's actually use the Nuxt equivalent. This is using ofetch, which does some automated data transformation and should automatically throw errors for you as well, which is nice. So this is going to be the, let's call this a profile. All right. And then if we take a look at the profile, we probably want to get the actual repos for that user as well. All right, so we'll get the repos. Great. And let's just take a look at the data we're getting from the actual repos. Okay, so what do we actually concern ourselves with here? Do we actually want all of this information? What do we actually care about from these? So stargazers, watchers counts, maybe those properties. You know what? Let's just jam it all in there and see what comes out of it, right? And then let's get the profile readme. GitHub user content, GitHub user name, repos.name. repos.name. No, that's not going to cut it. I think it's going to be what? GitHub username. GitHub username. Somebody who's already done this before. Give me the structure. And then main. Let's just see if we can find that. README. We'll just populate my name. I don't even know if I actually have a README. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that is the structure. Great. That is what we needed to confirm. And now let's just actually return this and see what we'll get back. All right, Bryant Gillespie. Now I'm going to fire this away. Roast. No. Nothing found. Well, that's a little concerning. GitHub username equals body. Read the body. We're going to fetch the users, GitHub username. Let's just console log the username. API.GitHub users. I don't see the actual username coming back. GitHub. That's always fun. All right. What did I do wrong? GitHub underscore username. Okay. Oh. Duh. Are we actually passing that in the body of the form? Console.log response. Request payload. API/roast. .post. What are we getting back here? GitHub username, form.GitHub username. Oh, that's right. We are missing a state variable here. So is it actually submitting the form? No? No. Okay, friends. What do we do from here? We have handle submit. We're going to use fetch, await that fetch request. We should have already got this back. Ah, of course, there it is. What a dum-dum. Forgot to actually fix the V model there. So that's what that is. Sometimes these are not great to do at the end of the day, but okay, where are we at as far as time? We've got 42 minutes remaining. I feel pretty confident on this one. All right, now with our roast, we can remove this. We should be able to get that information. Now let's make sure that we're getting what we want back from that API. Great, there's the profile, there's the repos, and there's the profile README. Great. All right, so what are we going to do with these now, right? The next step in this process would be to pass the profile to LLM and ask it to summarize for us. What do we want this to return? It should return something that looks like this. We want a letter from Santa. Letter from Santa in HTML. And then we're going to want the the list, naughty or nice, and that should be all we really need to return. All right. LLM returns JSON. Cool. So what is the LLM we're going to use? You know, typically I use OpenAI for a lot of the stuff that I do here at Directus. I've been messing around a lot with Claude locally. So we're just going to try this out. Santa letters. So we're going to use Anthropic. There's my API key. We're going to drop that in our env file. If I can actually get there. Jeez. There we go. I'm just going to call it Claude API key. Okay, great. And by the time you've watched this, hopefully I've disabled that key, so don't stop the video and try to figure that out. All right, let's pull up our docs for the API. We need to get the API reference. And let's define this prompt. Prompt, you are a letter writing AI. All right. Analyze the following GitHub profile. You are the open source Santa Claus. You determine whose open source contributions are naughty or nice. Analyze the following GitHub profile. Return a JSON object with the following fields: a letter from Santa in HTML. Set a really high bar for the nice list. What else do we need as far as a prompt? And yeah, here is the data profile readme JSON stringify. Wonder why it's doing that. But okay, nevertheless, there we go. Turn a JSON object, set a really write the letter in a snarky, sarcastic tone. Cool. All right, and now we're going to send that to Anthropic. All right, so if we look at their, oh, looks like we could just use their JavaScript SDK. That's great. Let's go ahead and open this up. We'll fire that up, install this thing. Import Anthropic. Great. And then we're going to create that message. All right, constant AI response equals Anthropic messages.create Claude Sonnet. Okay, messages user role content prompt. Do we want to set like max tokens? What's the default for max tokens? Where do we actually pass this API key? Getting started, authentication, X API key. API key equals process env. And again, like you could start to see why I really like using cursor, because it has like this sixth sense for a lot of this stuff that I'm actually trying to do. Sometimes it gets that wrong, but a lot of times it gets it right. So, all right. AI response messages. Do we want to set a max tokens? Body messages, max tokens required. Let's give some more parameters. Write a short letter in a snarky sarcastic tone that is 500 words or less. And then for the tokens, if we look at Sonnet, we've got like a context window of like 200,000, so maybe 100,000 tokens. Oh, no, that's the output. Max output is 8912. That's fine. Max tokens, great. And let's return. Actually, what we're going to do next is save that to the Directus database, right? So we've got this collection for our profile. What I've also done, I've got a utility set up here. This is just using the Directus SDK. And one of the nice things about Nuxt, I say that a lot, is the ability to, it will auto import this for me. So I don't have to import it. I should just be able to call Directus server right here. So let's call it Directus response equals await Directus server dot request create item. That's going to be in the profile, and we'll do the GitHub username. That's actually going to be username. Letter response content.text. I don't actually know what we're going to get back directly. Return only a JSON object. And maybe we want to add something like this for, let's just do code. We'll set this up, and I'm just going to add a field for, let's call it metadata or something, where I'm just going to store the entire response. And honestly, let's just do that to begin with. Metadata. AI response content.text. So if we take a look at the API reference, we go back to messages here. I'm kind of curious as to what we're going to get back. The content text. Okay, type text something. We'll get back something from the system. Let's just even do it this way. We'll say content Directus response, and then we're going to return Directus response. See what that gives us. Now let's go in. Where's our app? We'll switch back to Chrome. I do like Arc. I've found it to be lacking for development because it's just not super fast. All right, so fingers crossed that this actually does what it should do. And let's make this even nicer. And we'll add like a loading state. Constant loading, ref equals false. We'll add loading.value equals true. Loading.value equals false. Great. And what else do we want to do? Is there a loading state on the actual form? Let's take a look. So Nuxt UI state, there is not a loading state on that. There should be on the button though. So we'll just update that. Okay. And let's test this bad boy out. Submit. All right, we're waiting. This could take a minute, so you know, we might even want to like potentially set up a oh, okay, so we're not getting anything back. We see a request error. So let's go into our roast, and we should probably do some error handling. All right. Catch error, console error. Return. We could just throw the error. What do we got here? Format. All right, let's refresh. We'll try this again, see what kind of error we're getting and why. Pending. Invalid user credentials for Directus. Okay. Great. So just wasting tokens there, throwing them into the void. One of the things that you'll notice, I do have this Directus URL set up, but my server token is probably 100% not correct. So I'm going to go in and create a token for this. We'll just create a new token. We'll call this the server token. And I want to make sure in my utility that I have that set as server token, Directus URL. Okay. Let's try this thing again. pnpm dev. I will restart the dev server, pull in that new env, though I think Nux may automatically update that for us. How are we doing on time? We've got 29 minutes left, so I'm feeling pretty confident that we can get something out of this. Let's go in and try it again. Bryant Gillespie. Submit. Okay. Okay. Roast. You do not have permission to access this. Okay, can anybody spot the error? It is because I left off a S. We have profiles, and this is profile. So again, if I don't know if you can actually see the logs for Anthropic. Okay, yeah, we could see, here's the actual logs. It's probably not showing what we've got there, but anyway. All right, we'll try this one more time. Let's just clean this up a bit, and away we go. Dun dun dun. I don't like the looks of this, actually. Let's just reset, try this again. AI response, we got the prompt, got the profile. Dun dun dun, the moment of truth. Are we actually going to be able to get this thing to work? Bryant Gillespie, submit. Obviously, this would probably be better as like a background job or something like that. All right, so we refresh, and we have something here. Okay, yeah, so we're getting some text back. It looks like we need to parse the JSON. The letter is going to be text parsed response text parse response dot list, and then we got metadata which would just be the parse response, I'm assuming. All right, we're going to delete this out. Let's run this again. And hopefully I'm not burning through all these credits that I loaded up. Okay, so now we're looking great. Okay, so we have our username, we've got our letter. Ho ho ho, what do we have here? Another developer thinking they can impress Santa with a few measly repositories. I've seen elves with more impressive profiles. I made it to the naughty list. Great, amazing. All right, so now that's working as intended. Let's make this pretty, right? The form, we're going to do max width. Maybe we set this to XL. Move that form to the somewhat in the center of the page. And let's just lean on AI here, right? This is already pretty cool. One of the other things I want to do is maybe we set up a route where we actually surface this letter, right? So if we do, let's do letters as a directory inside pages, and we're going to do the username in brackets. So we'll just take this username, make that in brackets, and then I'm going to put letters inside here, and we'll change the name of this to the index route. All right, so let's just clean this up a bit, wrap this up, and console the error loading. Actually, we could do that in finally. Great. And what we're going to do, if the response is good, we could navigate to the username page. Cool. And that way, you know, basically, like, this could get very expensive if you made this thing public, right? You don't want people generating like 35 letters to Santa. So we could add a check to the database if we've already got that GitHub username and just return the letter that we already have, right? Okay, so on the response, as long as there's no error, we're going to navigate.to form.github username, and this would be await.navigate to. Cool. All right. Now let's just lean on AI and see what we could do. Add some Christmas theming to this. Let's see what this actually will do. Add some Christmas theming. Ho ho ho. Looks like it's generating some random messages. Code review letters to Santa. Random message. Decorative elements. Great. Love decorative elements. Now, with cursor, I'm just going to click apply here. It should go through and run through this actual code. I can close this out and see, you know, in a kind of a preview way what it's going to change. And if we hit reload, what do we got going on here? Letters, index. Is that because I changed the route? Okay, yeah, now we're looking very festive here. This looks great. AI, what can you do? All right. The other thing I see, maybe we want this to be block. Will that get it done? Block. Class. Let's just make the width full. Width full. Okay, and then let's shrink this actual form a bit. Yeah, MD. There we go. All right, we're deep in the Christmas cheer now, and while we wait, not while we wait. Let's actually go in, and now we're going to work on this letter. All right, so this does have a Nux plugin. This is just my boilerplate where I can go in and actually request the information from Directus on the client side, or I could set up a route for this on the server side in Nuxt. Both of those ways are totally valid depending on your application. Obviously, totally up to you. We will just let's keep with the same theme. We're going to like fetch roast, or we could do like a roast.get.ts. And what are we going to pass? Do we want to pass the username as a param, or we'll just pass it as a query parameter? Okay, so in this one, what we're going to do, we will call the profiles endpoint inside Directus. So we'll just go const response equals await Directus server, and sometimes you want to make requests on the server side. That's why I've got this set up this way. We're going to do read item, and I gave this a UUID. We could have used the actual profile as the primary key, but what we're going to do, read profiles, and we're going to set up a query for this. So we'll do a filter parameter, the username. So that's the field. We're going to drop down again. This will be equal to the username. So first we're going to have to get the username equals get router param. Nope. We're going to do get query. And that would just be the query. Great. Username. We could destructure this if we wanted to. Return username equals username, and we're going to return that response. Great. Cool. So now we do this, and on this one, what we can do is use the use fetch composable from Nuxt. So this will be, we've got some data. We're going to use fetch, and we're going to call API/roast, and is it params? I believe. Let's see what we got. And let's add this same festivities, I guess. Festiveness. Perfect. All right. Decorative elements, blah, 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 random messages. We're going to put that up here in the script. Okay, code review letters to Santa. And instead of the form, right, we're going to replace this with data. All right, so now if I do this, what's going to happen? Route is not defined. Okay, so we just need to call use route, fetch that route. And do we actually get the stuff that we need here? We could test this API as well. Letters, API, roast, username equals Bryant Gillespie. Okay, yeah, so that's getting us what we want from Directus, except, is it query? What is the use fetch? This is where like Nuxt documentation comes in handy. Use fetch. Where are we at? We got 16 minutes remaining. We got data, use fetch. What are the URL query? Okay, alias for query. That's what I thought. Root params, username. Oh, data. Are we actually, let's jump into the view DevTools. We'll hit the username route. And I see the data here. Here's the issue, right? It is returning an array. So inside our route, we could do something like this where we're just picking off the first item. I could also do that, transform that on the Nux side if I wanted to. Here's our letter from Santa. Cool. Code review letters from Santa. What I'm going to do, let's use the pros class from Tailwind to get styling for this. We'll make the text dark green. Great. That's fine. And then the interior of this, we're just going to use vhtml. So we get this. Do I not have Tailwind typography into this? At plugin Tailwind typography. Okay, yeah, so there we go. Now we've got the letter from Santa Claus. This is looking really nice. Perfect. Let's add like a cursive font, right? Font family cursive. And this is Tailwind 4. It's where all the config is basically CSS variables. So really enjoying that Nux module, playing around with it. Let's find a handwritten font. Okay. Caveat. Looks nice. Nuxt has also added a like this font amazing thing where you just throw your fonts in the CSS and it will actually download these things for you. So let's take a look at this, right? I'm just going to change this to font cursive. And bada bing, bada boom, we get what we want. So let's like pros XL to XL. And there we go. So, dear Bryant, what do we have here? Blah, 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 etc. We have got 13 minutes left on the clock. What can we do for fun? Let's go back and actually test this thing out. I'm just going to refresh. There we go. I'm going to do our fearless leader here at Directus, Mr. Ben Haynes. We're going to send this to Santa. And something bad happened. We could not find... Okay. So it looks like this one is not finding Ben's profile. Haynes main. Ben Haynes. Haynes. Would that be at like master branch maybe? Where's our roast? Roast.post, profile readme. Try. I bet it's at master. I'm just gonna do this the quick and dirty way. All right, so we go back. Let's try this again. Mr. Ben Haynes, we're about to roast you, sir. All right, so we're checking the list twice. And 11 minutes on the clock. We've got the letter to Ben Haynes, from Ben Haynes. Why are we not seeing the actual letter? There it is. I'm dreaming of a Nuxt application that actually works. What is going on with this? Letters, username, data.name. I'm assuming because there is no name. Username. I don't want to end this on a sour note here. Ben Haynes. Wow, that's kind of weird. Ben Haynes. Why is it doing that? API roast, username. What is going on here? Get async data. API roast. Why does it work for me and not for Mr. Haynes? What are we actually doing wrong here? Did I spell the name wrong? GitHub username. Right, epipe, use fetch roast. Can't find the username? Profiles, get username, get query. Is it read query? No, it's get query. Return query. API roast. Ben Haynes. So why isn't this working? So it's not actually finding the username for that, which is odd because I have the username right there. Filter contains. Okay, I don't understand it, but we're going to roll with it. Great. Some type of encoding or something, maybe? Not sure. Booyah. Ben, I'm going to read this to you. Dear Ben, ho ho ho. Well, isn't this embarrassing? I've been reviewing your GitHub profile, and I must say I'm thoroughly underwhelmed. 20 whole repositories. You must have been super busy this century. Meanwhile, Santa's got billions of believers worldwide. Look, I'm not saying you're on the naughty list because your contributions are lackluster. I'm saying if you were open source for coal, you barely have enough to heat a dollhouse. Oof. That is brutal. So let's call that a win. This is AI Letters with Santa. Do we want to do one more just for fun, just for giggles? Let's test this out. Directus. I forget Reich's actual GitHub profile. There it is. Okay, so we're going to throw Mr. Reich Van Zanten in there, our CTO. See what comes out of this thing. Hopefully, we got everything we need. It will do its thing. And that's not going to pick on Reich. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this thing. Potentially some kind of caching issue. Don't know. Anyway, response 0. Dun dun dun. Down to the wire. 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, no minutes. Is the server running? Use async data. Hey, what if we just use fetch? Response. It's going to be response.letter. Oh boy. Response fetch. Roast params username. Come on. Failed to stringify the server logs. What is going on? This feels like a crappy way to end this one. It should be like festive with holiday cheer. I don't understand what is going on with Nuxt. Oh, duh, dummy. You have to wait the promise. Is that getting us what we need? Still not getting us what we need. Data is not defined on the instance. Where else am I getting the data at? Festive messages, data. Oh, if response. We're not even getting a response. SSR, undefined, undefined. Hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I'm not sure what I am doing wrong with this. I'm sure it'll come to me right after I get done with this. Is it like a key? Cache. Cache, no cache. Cache, no cache, no cache. Well, at least Ben's works. At least mine works. Not entirely sure what's going on with this little API that I've written. Why it is caching this. But, hey, that's AI letters to Santa. That's the way it goes. This has been 100 apps, 100 hours. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you on the next episode.